Welcome. It's Wednesday, and it's Direct Line, and it is November 8th, the day after elections. I know we had scheduled Mariela Roca to be on. She had a conflict that came up at the last minute. We will try to get her on before the primary at some point, but we've got David Shepard to talk all things Virginia and elections from last night, where it was not all bad.
No, it wasn't. It was, I think Youngkin helped. I know he gets a lot of criticism, but he campaigned hard and he kept it probably closer than it rightfully should be. Apparently, we're running on new districts, and the way it looks, from what I've been told, I haven't crunched numbers, but basically the House of Delegates would probably be 53%, 53 Democrat, 47 Republican. I think at the end of the day, we'll be at 51-49. We're behind, 49-51.
Really?
Yeah, so and the state Senate remains the same, I think, at 21-19 last I looked.
We picked up one seat. Republicans picked up one seat in the Senate.
Yeah, I guess that's the case, unless there was something lost? I don't know. I thought the number, I don't know. I haven't seen the recent number.
We netted one seat, and I say we like I live in Virginia, but
okay.
We netted one seat, but they needed 4 to flip it.
Okay.
Well, Dave, you and I remember Governor Allen.
Oh, yes.
When he became governor, he did not control the Senate.
No, not at all, and not even the House. Not even the House. The House didn't become Republican until Gilmore in '99.
But to take the Senate, he made a couple of appointments, which gave the Republicans the majority.
That's a good point. I don't know,
Youngkin, if you're paying attention, we could have put a few people from the House to give them some job.
That's true, but they're also bad. Back in those days, you had your moderate Democrats.
The Chap Petersons,
the last somewhat moderate Democrat. But also in the Senate, I would point out that the 2 of the Senate seats were very close. In Prince William County, where you had, in Loudoun, Juan Pablo Segura came very close. And in Prince William, Bill Wolf, a great candidate, he came close too. I mean, I understand this, they say there's only close counts only in horseshoes and hand grenades, but those were still battles. And I guess while we're talking about potentially good news, Ian Lovejoy won a House delegate seat in blue Prince William, and Gary Higgins won a seat in blue Loudoun. So that was good.
Prince William and blue Loudoun. Back in the day, those were red as they were like crimson red districts. Loudoun, Prince William, Fauquier. Those were all the counties that had more snow days than we did in Montgomery County.
Yeah, they used to say
hearing that over a period of 2 decades, those places have flipped from blue to red or red to blue gives me hope that we're due in Montgomery County for some Republicans soon.
Yeah. I wonder, maybe if they've all moved to Loudoun, maybe that would save Montgomery.
Unfortunately, we have people that move in. Montgomery County is like a cancer on the state of Maryland, sort of. And you know how cancer cells, they explode and go. They've infected Frederick County, Howard County, Anne Arundel County.
Yeah.
And they're even
Howard County is getting their people from Baltimore, though. That's not entirely our fault.
No, it's a lot of people in Montgomery County too getting over there.
Yeah.
But
I think Fairfax may be about as bad as Montgomery County. I always thought that Fairfax.
No, it's not as bad, and I'll tell you why. John Fry is still elected, and so is Pat Harity.
Well, remember in the case of John Fry, he's now retired, and his Gerarda, his picked successor, sadly, she lost yesterday.
She lost?
Yeah, it looked like it. I was very sad to see that.
Oh, John.
But Harity did win. I believe Harity did win. So.
Emily Brewer won. Emily Brewer is a young Republican who is running in Suffolk County. And she was telling us she was a state delegate, and they basically, when they redistricted the maps, drew out all of the Republican females in the state.
So she's now in Suffolk County, Long Island, or
no,
Suffolk County?
Suffolk, Virginia.
Suffolk, Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Home of Mr. Peanut, Planters Peanut.
Yes, a lot of peanut words over there. So you mentioned before we went live that you had worked the polls yesterday, and you had a lot of stories from the battleground. So can you tell us a little bit about what you saw, what you heard?
Well, I was working in Loudoun. See, I always work the polls, but I made this deal because I was also selling my book, and this lady was a precinct captain. She bought my book in exchange. I worked the poll for her, which is fine. I had fun, but it was a Democrat-leaning precinct, and I had some confidence coming out of it because I thought, well, we seem to be holding our own. And I think we generally were. But I'll back up and just give you my frame of mind. On Monday, I was at the Loudoun at a rally with Youngkin. Youngkin was in Fredericksburg. He came up to Prince William and then did Loudoun. And it was a very good crowd, very good. And Youngkin was worked up. They were all good. But I got a sense, though, there from him. And I don't know him that well, but he seemed a little, he didn't seem quite as ebullient as usual. And I remember before and after, it was like a big soccer field, and they have they have some office space. And he was in the meeting. We were waiting for him for a while with Rich Anderson, state party chairman, and all the local candidates. And they were talking for a while. And he came out, and he didn't seem quite as ebullient. So I thought maybe he might have been a little concerned. Well, anyway, by the way, those rallies are great. It's almost like a rock concert you're at because they got the lights going and it's dark. One other thing that he does, and I'm leading to something on this, is I got there early, so I'm in the front row, and there were a couple thousand people probably, or at least 1,000. But anyway, he because he used to play basketball, he comes out with a bunch of basketballs that's signed, and he throws them out to the crowd. And so he's throwing out basketballs, and I had my hands up, and he grabbed one. He seemed to turn to look at me, and then threw it right at me. And so I caught it. So that was nice. But and I didn't have to elbow anybody out of the way either. But anyway, so I was a little nervous about that. Well, anyway, the next day I worked in Loudoun, and like I said, I left thinking maybe we can win it. The turnout was a little elevated, but not too elevated. It was about 37% maybe, or 33 to 37% for an off-year election, certainly not a non-presidential year. So I thought that might bode well for us. The Loudoun folks are, well, it's an interesting group because, as you know, Loudoun was the fastest growing county pretty much all my life. When I was your age, every census, they'd say Loudoun County is the fastest growing county in the country. And everyone took pride in that maybe. But you see, that's what changed Loudoun, because Loudoun was no longer a rural conservative county. And then they brought the metro out there, which probably brings a lot of people from Montgomery County and down. And so it's gotten kind of tough for us. So we had the school board elections, which is now 6-3 Democrats. But I would say this, the only incumbents, all the incumbents, because they were such a disaster, the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors, none of the incumbents ran except they had 2, and both of them lost. But they still put Democrats in charge, but they're a different bunch of Democrats. And we got 3 members on, 3 that are good. I thought we'd do better than that. And the last bit of good news, I guess, of the election, and it almost makes it, well, it saves it from maybe being a disaster, is the Soros-backed attorney, Commonwealth attorney, Buddha Bibarai. Looks like she lost. Yeah. So unless they find a bunch of extra votes somewhere, I think she
refused to even debate her Democrat challenger in a primary. She felt so
probably
entitled.
Yeah, probably. And
she didn't debate the Republican either, frankly,
I don't think she did. But the Republican's a great guy, Bob Anderson, and Bob used to serve in the job. I think it was with Loudoun, so he's back. He's good. And then the sheriff, Mike Chapman, won. That's good. And then, like the smaller offices, I think the county treasurer.
I've been doing like Warren County and stuff like that. Warren County, Front Royal. Those are always safe red areas, and I think they probably still are.
Yeah, those are. Yeah, Warren's good, but they're small. I mean, Warren, Clark, Frederick. Orange, Madison, very good. Madison's very
By the
conservative.
way, when they move, they need to keep this silver line from going all the way to front oil as they want to do.
Oh yeah, that
Because
brings the locust in.
all it's going to do is bring in Democrat voters.
Yeah, and if you think about it, I'm kind of hesitant to say this because it might give some ideas. But if you're in Montgomery County, you could live in Loudon. It's the same general area. You got a metro, and you pay lower taxes. So
yeah, but see, Montgomery County Democrats will tell you it's not about the taxes; it's about the children. The children are our future. But we need to pay for education. We've got a world-class education system in Montgomery County where we're graduating seniors who can't read or do basic arithmetic, frankly.
Yeah. Well, for example, speaking of that issue, let's pass on.
Montgomery County is not what it used to be in education.
Oh, well, speaking of that, I was passing out my ballots, and I knew in Loudon, I'm not from Loudon, I'm in Fairfax, but I knew the school board was a big issue. So when I passed out the Republican sample ballot, I kind of made a point to say, and we include our school board candidates as well. So this lady comes up, she's got her kids with her, and she's like a millennial aged, I guess. And then I told her, I offered her my sample ballot. And then she tells me, well, I want to protect my kids from guns. And so I guess that means she's going to vote for a Democrat school board. But I was thinking to myself, well, who's going to protect your kids from a bad school?
Right.
You know? But a lot of these folks are just, I think, just sort of brainwashed, really. But anyway, that's the good news. The sad news is, we had a lot of good people that lost, and Youngkin will get grilled for this. And the other thing is, there's not much he can do. He still has veto power. He still has appointment power. But I don't think we're going to get good legislation out. Maybe a little gridlock's good, but I think that's what we're going to get.
Well, there are a lot of people who are viewing this race, and Virginia in particular, as the bellwether for 2024. And it's, the Democrats spent millions of dollars putting out messaging about how we're abortion extremists on the right. We want to arrest anybody who ever gets an abortion ever. Yeah. And from what it sounds like, a lot of people who are coming to the polls, and I'm curious if that was your experience, where all they were talking about is abortion, regardless of how bad the economy gets, everything going on in the Middle East, all they care about is abortion.
Yeah, they just bombarded all the ads I saw from the Democrats. All of them mentioned abortion.
It's very sad that Democrats feel that abortion is more important than carjackings, crime, burglaries, muggings, rapes. They're all up in the Commonwealth, Yeah. And you've got Democrats but don't have nice things, then people won't steal your watch. Right. Don't drive nice cars and you won't be carjacked. Don't live in a nice house.
Did you guys see that other video that they were playing on Fox a couple times yesterday of that guy who was accosted by the liberal voter? He's calling all kinds of names. I
saw that. I know the guy too, Matthew Hertz, who, if that's the one I'm thinking about, who recorded it. And Hertz is smart. And that's the thing about that guy. I didn't realize how dumb he is, because Hertz is smart. Hertz knew, hey, I'll have my camera going. This guy could be a problem. And that stupid guy just walked right into it, went nuts on camera.
Well, these are Democrats. They're not the sharpest knives in this,
it's not hard to just say no thank you and keep going.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And, the other thing is,
I must say, at this polling precinct, even though it was Democrat, most people were all nice. I mean, I had no real problems. There's some precincts though that it's tough. When I worked a few years back at a precinct in Prince William County, those people were.
Oh, you know a tough precinct? McLean High School. I did that poll for Gary Bays when he ran for. Some of the people are really nice, but there's a lot of angry Democrats there. It's McLean, multi-million-dollar homes. What are you doing voting Democrat?
Yeah, I agree. One guy once told someone, another person passing out sample ballots, and I'll clean this up, but basically he wouldn't take the paper to wipe a certain part of his body, and I thought that's pretty rough there. So,
McLean High School.
I had one guy who was a Republican that was so upset with us, the Republicans, I guess, for failing to. And I thought to myself, I've been here since like 5 a.m, and this guy's
Where have you been?
criticizing me for not doing enough. I thought, well, gee, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I didn't say
That's
that.
what, yeah, but there's a lot of Republicans now too that they won't write a check, they won't cover a poll, they won't knock on a single door, but they'll bitch and whine about how horrible Republicans are. You know, you couldn't get Dan Cox elected, you couldn't get so and so elected. So what did you do to help this person get elected? Did you write a check?
Right.
My favorite ones are the ones who say, I'm a big time Republican contributor. Then when you look them up on FEC and the state board, they haven't ever given money. Like this one particular person told me how she lost multi-million-dollar contracts because she's a Republican. And I'm thinking like, you haven't given any money to the Republican Party until 2022, the last election.
Yeah.
Now tell me again, when did you lose these $1 million contracts? Your first contribution was until June of 2024, 2022.
Yeah, my favorite are the people who complain. They're like, I don't like either candidate. They're both too extreme on their side. So the first thing I ask them is, when's the last time you voted in a primary? Like, if you don't like the candidate, you don't vote in primaries. Most of the people who come out in primaries are your extremes on both sides.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But we had other silver linings last night too, David.
Yeah.
Suffolk County, Long Island, elected the first county executive in 25 years. Suffolk County is also, it was also represented by good Republicans like Mike Forbes, Rick Lazio, Ray McGrath over the years. Yeah. But then again, it's almost 25 years ago that Ray McGrath was representing parts of Suffolk County. But here's the AOC, that councilmanic district that AOC represents, is about to go Republican too.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
I saw that lady on TV. Yeah, she's good. And remember, Suffolk County's big. And Suffolk County's big.
It's a big
Suffolk
county.
and Nassau are both very big.
It's no Nassau. Suffolk County is no Nassau County, but it is a big county. You've got, Huntington is probably the biggest city and the county seat, I believe, in Suffolk. Okay. And then you've got, but there's an incredible amount of wealth in Suffolk County too, actually.
A lot of wealth.
Yeah. Also, Suffolk County is also home of the very worst beach in all of New England too.
Or New York. Okay.
Yeah. But everyone goes to the Hamptons anyways. But
what did I hear about the Bronx? Apparently elected a Republican.
Yeah, they elected a Republican in AOC's backyard,
Wow.
And I think it might have something to do with the squad being a bunch of anti-Semites.
Yeah. That
they can Rashida Tlaib can cry all day long, and her gaggle of fellow travelers on the road to anti-Semitism. Yeah. And I'm sorry, I know a lot of people like to split hairs about this. Even my nephew's mother-in-law goes, well, just because you're anti-Israel doesn't make you anti-Semite. I go, yes, it does.
Yeah, well,
there's a very fine line, and they've just trampled all over it at this point.
Oh, there is no line. Look, you can't be pro-Jewish and anti-Israel. That's an oxymoron.
Anti-Israel to me is not anti-Zionism. That's anti-Semitism. But
yes.
But you have the right, just like we do in this country, to criticize the government and the actions of that government. But there's people who take that way too far and just use it as an excuse to be anti-Semitic, which is pretty much where we're at now.
And it's sad the Democrat Party is basically taking over. I mean,
they're eating themselves alive over this. Because a lot of these people in my generation who are far lefty Democrat socialists are crapping their pants because a ton of the Democrats are siding with Israel, and obviously they're not changing their minds. So the Democrat Party is kind of eating itself over this.
Oh yeah,
I've read several socialist Democrats will not vote for Biden in 2024 over that.
I mean, look at Bernie Sanders, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's Jewish, and he's also he's a self-hating Jew.
Yeah,
a lot of people on CNN are, and I mean even Jared's in-laws.
Yeah, I was stunned.
They're
I was
on that
stunned he
little
wouldn't
line.
criticize. Yeah, he wouldn't
because they're
criticize.
hard Democrats. I mean, they did a fundraiser for Hillary Clinton. It's like, but it's like, and that's, I think, what may have led to a Republican winning in the Bronx, frankly.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which I think is where Bernie Sanders is from.
A sad loss that came out.
Yes, he is actually.
My favorite New Jersey state senator, Ed Durr, lost yesterday. That was the truck driver who beat the 30-year incumbent. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him.
I'm very sad
And
if he runs again.
also, you know who else lost last night was Elvis's cousin.
Yes.
He ran
against Dave Reeves in Mississippi.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
He's all shook up this morning, I understand.
Yeah.
And but the funny thing is, he was also pro-life. The Republican was pro-life too.
Okay.
Although I think he got a little too close for my comfort, frankly. I mean, no Democrat should be getting more than 40% of the vote in Mississippi, frankly.
Well, they dumped a lot of money into that race, and he tried to play himself off as basically a conservative Democrat.
He actually probably is. I mean, he's actually probably. It's kind of like Bashir, who also, by the way, got a lot of in Kentucky. Bashir also got a lot of tricky votes because they all thought they were voting for Dr. Julian Bashir. And,
he was a very popular incumbent governor.
Yeah.
With a lot of name ID. He's one of the most well-regarded governors in the country. So that was
what I understand. And from what I understand, he's not a crazy liberal too.
He's got a lot of bipartisan support.
Yeah, and I think I think the Attorney General was hammered on abortion and didn't come back. He did not answer. He didn't fire back, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like abortion was the underlying,
we had the same problem, not in the general in Maryland, but in the primary. Mm-hmm. We had Kelly Schultz and Dan Cox. Dan Cox attacked, along with the DNC that did those horrific ads, supporting Dan Cox.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly did not respond to any of those attacks until it was too late, frankly.
Yeah.
She tried to take the high road. And there was a certain senator from New York I used to work for. He goes, the high road's a little overrated. You got to kneecap them before they kneecap you.
Okay. Yeah. Who was that? Al D'Amato? Who said that? Al D'Amato? Okay.
Yes.
Sounds like him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I think it was a rough night, but I think it's sort of, I think to some degree exaggerated a little bit because I think it's still more of a status quo election in Virginia. Things are still basically where they were. We lost a few seats, so we lose the House of Delegates. But
by the way, you know how the liberals are saying Virginia is a bellwether for 2024?
Yeah.
If the Republicans did very well, New Jersey would have been the bellwether for the Republicans. If New Jersey did well, they would have gone, Kentucky, that's the real bellwether for the Republicans. They can't win here.
Well, prior to yesterday, both sides were saying that Virginia was the bellwether to watch. So, but and with the referendums as well, you had several states who had abortion on as referendum.
Ohio,
yep. And the two state Supreme Court seats in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, both of the candidates who won, both Democrat candidates, ran on abortion as their main issue.
Yeah.
And Republicans need to do a better job at crafting their message. They need to explain that Roe v. Wade did not ban abortion in all 50 states. Back in 1986, Maryland had a referendum called Question 3, where it made abortion legal, even if Roe v. Wade were overturned. I think they got to the way that you can't even legislate it. Well, there's a supermajority that Democrats have in there, so there's no way to undo that by legislation, frankly, and you have all these Maryland Democrats running on abortion. Like I remember when Peter Franchot ran for comptroller against William Donald Schaefer. Every commercial he had was pro-choice.
Yeah.
Peter, you're the comptroller. You have nothing to do with that issue. You don't even touch that issue.
Right.
It's like, and that's why, everyone would always go, Peter Franchot, he'd be a good Democrat to be governor. No, he wouldn't. He's just as bad as every last other Democrat, frankly, because he's a Tacoma Park liberal.
Well, I mean, they ran on it and won on it. We'll see if that's going to be enough
Mhm.
to get them reelected. I mean, I assume people in Virginia are going to expect a little bit more than just keeping doctor abortionists out of jail. I mean, they probably are going to want a little bit more than that. But
That's what you'd think with this year, with this
yeah,
last election,
yeah,
Uh, and what's funny? The economy is not doing well at all. Car dealers are having issues. Not only the price, they're also having like repos are up, which
yeah,
means people who are buying these cars can't afford the payments because of the higher interest rates because of Joe Biden.
yeah,
Uh, we have I mean, people. They say jobs are, but people are working two jobs now.
yeah.
It's like it's like people working two jobs to keep things afloat. I mean, as I said, I remember in '82, my dad was making about 120 a year, and that was good money.
Well,
He
that's
was
a
able
lot.
to, support a family, of five, and go on vacations, have investment properties, and do all that. Today, $120,000, even if you're making 190 or even $220,000, okay, it's still a struggle. If you're living in the DMV, that's a struggle. 220,000,
Mm,
because you're spending 220, you're paying a lot more in taxes. Your taxes are much higher than anywhere else, frankly.
yeah,
In Virginia, you got the personal property tax still on cars.
yeah,
I think we need a second coming of Governor Gilmore, frankly, to eliminate the
yeah,
car tax once and for all.
yeah.
But it's one of those things.
Well,
Here's
the thing about it is now we have these types of issues. Maybe we can focus on and push, and then, like I said, maybe Youngkin can use the bully pulpit.
Mhm.
There could be some showdowns with Democrats, depending on what they're going to send them, and depending on how crazy they get. I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
there's
I
no
know Northern
moderates
Virginia.
really. There's no moderates, so I assume that the legislation they're going to be passing is going to be bad.
Well, I mean, David, in the Richmond area, are there any Democrats like Chuck Peterson in the Henrico County, that whole general area?
Not really. As far as I know, in
Really?
the state senate, the last two moderates were George Barker, if you want to call him a moderate, I guess he's sort of, and then Chap. But both of them, they were primaried and beaten in part because they were going along with Youngkin on some things. For the example,
Mm-hmm.
the mask mandate. Certainly,
Mm-hmm.
Peterson was against that,
Yep.
and some other things. And it wasn't too many votes, but I mean, they voted with Youngkin on a couple things. And then they had this Bernie Sanders guy challenge Peterson in Fairfax and beat him. The guy's name was Saddam Salim, and he ends up beating Peterson. And he's a Bernie Sanders guy, and he ran against Peterson for being too moderate. So,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous. But I
So
don't know.
Virginia's really changed a
Pardon?
lot. I said Virginia's changed a lot since the days
Yeah.
of Governor Gilmore and Allen,
Oh,
where
yeah.
a Richmond Democrat,
It's very much different state.
a Richmond Democrat would have a hard time winning as a Republican in Northern Virginia. He'd be a Republican, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of go through that in my book in a way because I talk about the olden days where, not to nerd out here too long, it'll be very quick, I
Mm-hmm.
promise. But in 1973, we had a gubernatorial election. This is a state senator, a Democrat from Norfolk, Henry Howell and Henry, they called him. And he ran in
Mm-hmm.
73 against a conservative former Democrat, Godwin. Well, Howell loses, but do you know Henry Howell was considered so far to the left that Democrats didn't even nominate him. He ran as an independent, although they backed him. But today, Howell would be a moderate sort of Democrat. So
He ran against Dalton, right?
Howell ran against Godwin in 73.
Oh, okay. When was Dalton
We're
governor?
nerding out the audience here. Ran, what was it, 76, 77?
Yeah, he was governor for a while. 70, it would have been 77, I guess.
He died of lung cancer. He was young,
Yeah.
non-smoker, died in 86.
Yeah.
By the way,
His wife ran several times for
Eddie Dalton, the first lady, she ran against Don Beyer and lost in 89.
Then I don't know what she was thinking. She was on some ticket with Earl Warren at one point too.
What was that?
She was on a ticket with Earl Warren too.
I didn't know that.
I want to say this would have been what year did Ollie North run for U.S. Senate from Virginia?
Yeah, I remember that.
And Marshall Coleman played the spoiler
Yep,
that
I
year.
remember that.
94 was it?
Yep.
Yeah, she ran the year in that. It would have been 93, maybe like 95, 97. What was the? Let's see. Yeah, it would have been like 97. 97. She was on a ticket with Earl Warren. And that was the year Don what's the guy Ferris? What's the guy's name? Ferris, school choice guy.
Yeah, Mike Ferris. I remember he ran in a primary against Bobby Kilberg.
Yeah, but it was that same year.
Well, I don't remember Eddie. I thought she was done with politics by then, but nice lady, but lost. Oh, she was in the state senate for a while, and then from first lady state senate, then she ran for Lieutenant Governor against Don Beyer.
Yeah, and then we had. By the way, how's your book doing? By the way, tell us. Give us an update.
Well, doing good. Thank you for asking.
You've been out here in Maryland selling your books too. Yeah.
Pardon?
You've been out in
another
Maryland.
Review on Amazon today.
Oh, good, good.
Another good review. Rich Anderson is the. I'll drop names. He's the chairman of the Virginia State Party, and I saw him at the rally, and I went up to him. He told me he's reading my book. He said he's halfway through, and I thought, oh, well, good. He's halfway through. He must like it to continue going. Mm-hmm. Well, I kind of had a George Costanza moment because for almost the rest of the event, I kept thinking, but he didn't say he liked it. He didn't say he liked it. He didn't say he liked it. I put him down, and then I asked him if he liked the book. And he said yes. But and then I had the book with me because I keep it with me all the time. And when I was in the front of the line at the rally, I had my book. And Jason Miara, as the Attorney General, came down. He was shaking hands, and he remembered me, and he said, "Oh, you got your book with you." So I felt good about that. And then when Youngkin, was a little slip there, when he recites the line, "Elections have consequences," because he liked the title of my book, and he once told me it's a nice title. So when I go to events, sometimes he'll say that elections have consequences. So
he told him to hold your book up. The next time he did hold your book up.
Well, I was with some friends and they knew about the book. And when Youngkin said, and oh, by the way, elections have consequences, I guess I yelled or something. I hoisted my book up, and then some people with me were saying something. And he seemed to pause and turn over like, what's going on there? And he kind of looked over briefly, like, what did I say? But I say
write some Amazon reviews for you.
I drop his name, but truthfully, he wouldn't know me in a police lineup. But he once said he liked the title of my book, and that was it. But
you'd be surprised.
I milked it for all it's worth. Well, by the way, I guess I told you this last time. I am speaking at my old alma mater, George Mason University, College Republicans, my old club, and they're going to have me talk about my book. And what I don't know, and I'm happy to go back, but I don't know if the young people are buying books these days. And
I think you should talk to Governor Ehrlich about, because he recorded the audio version of his last book. Yeah,
I guess I could do the audio. But you know what else? The other thing about it, I'm going to feel really old because, believe it or not, it just dawns on me that the students there that I'll end up talking to at the end of the month, I don't think any of them were born when I was at Mason.
Nope.
Jackie was not born when you were at Mason.
I was born in 1997, and I'm
okay. So you weren't even born when I was at Mason.
We were working for Paul Weyrich then.
Yeah, that's right. I was getting out of college in the mid '90s.
Yeah,
but it's just going to feel. I don't know. I'm just going to look at these folks, these good young people, but I'm going to think, and how did I get so old? Is what I don't know. How did I get so old?
Well, age does have its privileges, though.
Yeah.
The worst thing about it, the worst thing about the age, I have to wear reading glasses.
Yeah.
I took pride in the fact that I used to be able to read anything. I never wore glasses until, like 5 years ago or 6 years ago. I never needed glasses to read. I was at that event, and this young man, probably a young college Republican, came up, and he was talking to us in the other group. And I said to the lady next to me, had a big head of hair, and I told her, I said, I used to have hair like that. I used to have hair like that. That's the way it used to be. But then as you get older, that goes too. So,
well, Go ahead, Dwight.
Sorry to be a
Say at
downer.
least. No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, though, Dave. I mean, again, age has its privileges. We get to go into Costco's. Well, not anymore, but during the pandemic, we were allowed to go in there before it opened up, so it was a lot easier going in and out of Costco's in the morning. And nowadays, you think people are lining up at Churchill Downs over at Costco's, you know. One day I'm going to go there. I'm going to just start rattling off like an announcer. You know, they're off and they're, you know, bye.
This lady asked me the other day at a Golden Corral if I deserved a senior discount. I'm like, are you? I didn't say anything. I'm thinking, my God.
Wait, Golden Corral? What? I mean,
It's not that
isn't Golden
great.
Corral like dirt cheap? You know, take the discount. Is what I'd say. Take the discount.
Well, as we start to kind of get in the last few minutes, in a little less than an hour, the third presidential debate is starting. So, any predictions for what we're going to hear? We're only down to 5 people on the stage, which is like, we'll actually get to start hearing people talk, hopefully, instead of just yelling over.
I think Ron DeSantis blows out of the pack, and he'll be the new front runner tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's either him or I think it still comes down to him or Haley.
Yeah, that's where my brain's at too. One of the two of them.
Hey, is Vivek on stage tonight?
Yeah, so it's Vivek, Haley, Scott, DeSantis, and Christie.
Okay.
Who I'm genuinely surprised actually is still on the debate stage.
Yeah, I'm also kind of surprised why Vivek's. I mean, but you see Vivek trying to walk back his anti-Semitism from defend. We don't need to be defended. We don't need to be sending money to Israel. And he's at the RJC. I mean, he should have been booed off the stage at the RJC, frankly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry it ended so bad for Pence. He had a good career.
I know. I like Mike Pence. You know.
Yeah.
It's a different Republican Party. It really is.
But see, Mike Pence also had another thing going against him was that he looked in the X-Men comic book. Senator Clark looked just like Mike Pence, and
I don't think that's what did him in, Dwight.
I think that's what it is. I think people view him as the one who would lock up all the mutants, you know. And I think just like Bashir won because all the Trekkies voted for him because they thought that was Julian Bashir they were voting for, even though they spell their names completely different, you know. But that's just that he was on the down low to keep Section 31 off.
Let's wrap up with plugs. Dwight, you have anything you want to plug?
Yes, the Montgomery County Republican Party's Katja's Toys for Tots and Hanukkah and Christmas party is December 10th. Come one, come all. It's free. All we ask is you bring an unwrapped toy for Toys for Tots.
Awesome. And Dave, you want to plug something? Plug your book?
Oh, well, yes, of course. It's going well. And like I said, I think I said enough about it. But if you get a chance, I'm on Amazon. Elections Have Consequences, A Cautionary Tale. And just hanging in there. But I appreciate the opportunity to get to talk Virginia politics, which is always fun.
Awesome. And for me, December 16th is the Maryland Young Republicans Christmas Gala. It's black tie optional, the first time we're doing it in that format. Beautiful sit-down dinner, Christmas carols, open bar. It's going to be great. It's in Bel Air, Maryland at the, it's like Leodendron Mansion. I believe that's how it's pronounced. So get your ticket.
See that doing it at the Ironbird Stadium?
No. You can get tickets on mdyrs.com or through our Facebook page, and the early bird pricing ends tonight, and ticket sales will go up in price tomorrow, so get your tickets now. And and
one last thing, the Maryland Republican State Party convention is coming up December 1 and 2. Come on out to the convention Friday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're actually trying to get Governor McDonald to be our speaker Friday night, Dave.
Oh, good. Yeah, Bob's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you should go on out and maybe move some books, you know. You've done pretty well in Maryland, right? You've spoke to 3 clubs in Maryland.
Yeah, other than the Ehrlich event when I got lost, I've spoken to 3. And I had a lady in Maryland liked the book a lot. And I had another lady thought it was a little Virginia-centric for her, but didn't dislike it. So even though it takes place in Virginia, I think all conservatives could like it.
Awesome.
It's funny. A book about Virginia being too Virginia-centric.
Well, I get in the weeds maybe a little sometimes. So if a Marylander might read, or someone from out of the state, they may be conservative, but it might be a certain event or certain Virginiaism that they may not quite pick up. That's all.
Well, I think that's
Well,
going to do it for us this week, right?
Yeah, David, I will see you again on Friday, Veterans Day. But happy Veterans Day, and thank you for all who served.
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
Good night, everyone.
All right. Good night.